Rahim. Imam An-Nawawi then continues in Mukhtasar Tibyan fi Adabi Hamalat al-Qur'an. He says from the manners of the student is, from the emphasized manners that he should have, is that he be eager upon learning knowledge and sticking to that at all times, wherever he is able to do so. He should not be satisfied with little whilst being able to do more. But he should not overdo it, whereas he fears he will turn away and put to waste what he has attained. And this differs from one person to another and different situations. If he comes to the sitting of the shaykh and doesn't see him, he waits and sticks to his door. He doesn't let his chance go to waste except if he fears his teacher dislikes that, whereas he knows he should go to him at a specific time only, and that he does not accept at other times. If he finds his teacher occupied, he waits. He does not bother him with seeking permission. It is befitting that he strives in attaining knowledge when he is free and energetic, his body is strong, and his mind is attentive and sharp. He has lesser things to occupy him, and that he does so before things become or turn him away, and he has hurdles in his life, whereas he's unable to act or has a higher status which basically occupies him. It is befitting he takes knowledge in the beginning of the day due to the hadith, Allahumma barik li ummati fi bukuriha. Oh Allah, bless my ummah in its earliness. As for being eager upon learning and striving knowledge, Imam An-Nawawi rahimahullah mentions, then Imam Bukhari, he mentions a chapter in Kitab al-Ilm, the book of knowledge in Sahih al-Bukhari, chapter striving for hadith, striving for attaining hadith. Then he related the narration of Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, where he said to the process, he said, Man as'adu an-nas bi shafa'ati. Man as'adu an-nas bi shafa'atik ya Rasulullah. Who is going to be the luckiest person who will gain your intercession on the day of Allah? So he asked the Prophet this question. The Prophet said to Abu Hurairah, I have thought that none will ask me about this hadith before you. Why did he say this to Abu Hurairah? He said, why? As I know you're longing for learning hadith. Showing Abu Hurairah had eagerness to learn hadith. I know you're the one that longs to learn hadith, and no one else will ask me before you. Having this eagerness upon beneficial knowledge is great happiness, that the Prophet said. When the Prophet said that Al-Mu'min al-Qawi khayrun wa habbu ila Allah min al-Mu'min al-Da'if, that the strong believer is more beloved to Allah and better than the weak one. وَفِي كُلٍّ خَيْرٍ, both of them have good. Then what do you say? إِحْرِسْ عَلَى مَا يَنْفَعُكَ, be eager and strive towards that which benefits you. وَاسْتَعِنْ بِاللَّهِ, and seek the aid of Allah. Ibn Qayyim got from this narration of Abu Hurairah that we just mentioned, that the happiness of a person is in his eagerness in striving upon that which benefits him. Is the happiness, the sa'adah of a person, is in his eagerness and striving upon that which benefits him in this worldly life and the next life. Al-hirs, he says, is to exert one's efforts and capability. Is to exert one's efforts and capability. He says if that is used in that which is beneficial, then that eagerness is something beneficial. And the perfection of it is in combining between the two affairs. Number one, that he be eager and strive, he puts his effort. And number two, that he does so in that which is beneficial. This is the complete form. This is him reaching perfection. So every time a believer sees or feels that he's starting to benefit and get more knowledge, he should continue in his striving and become more eager for it. Why? Because the Prophet said, Man human la yashba'an. Two people who strive or are occupied or concerned with something, they will never become full. Man humun fi ilm la yashba'. One who is occupied or concerned of knowledge will never become full from that knowledge. He continues to want to strive and get more. وَمَنْ هُومٌ فِي الدُّنْيَا لَا يَشْبَعْ. And the second type of person is one who is occupied or wants the dunya, he will never become full. So a person who is attaining knowledge, he never becomes satisfied. He continuously wants more. When you start feeling you're satisfied, if you reach a status, that is when you start to fall off. You go back on your heels at that moment. Why? Because you've taken away this blessing Allah has given you and you think that is enough. No one becomes satisfied. We're going to come to narrations from the Salaf to show that they never became satisfied and they wanted to die with this knowledge. It comes from Ibn Uyayna, Sufyan ibn Uyayna, from the great scholars and imams of the Muslimin. It was said to the scholars, why are you the most eager people upon knowledge and you are scholars? They said, because we are the most knowledgeable of the people regarding it. When a person knows something and more knowledge regarding it, he wants it more. But the one who's ignorant of something, he is against it. So a person who knows knowledge and knows the benefits of it and knows the reward of it, he sees that he has to keep studying. And for that reason, the scholars, min ahris nas, they are from the most eager of the people regarding knowledge. So if the scholars are like that, then a student of knowledge who wants to be like that and wants to become to that level, he should be also eager. Also comes Sufyan ibn Uyayna that he asked his students, who is the most deserving of people in regards to knowledge? They said, tell us, Ya Aba Muhammad. This is from the manners of what they teach you. You don't call your teacher by his first name. Because as we mentioned, that the scholar, bimanzilatil walid, that the scholar is at the level of the father. The same way you don't call your father by his first name, you call him by his kunya, or by something like that. The scholar says, similarly, the teacher, you don't call him by his first name. He said the scholar because there's no one more repulsive in regards to ignorance than the scholar. He said, why? The scholar is more in need of that knowledge and more deserving because there's no one more repulsive in regards to ignorance than the scholar. Because if the scholar is ignorant or is ignorant regarding certain things, he may mislead others. So he's constantly in need of gaining knowledge and getting strong in his knowledge so that no one becomes at fault because of him. Whoever thinks he is not in need of more knowledge, then he's in reality a jahil, an ignorant person. Yosat ibn al-Mubarak, everyone knows Abdullah Mubarak, from the great imams of the Muslimin. They said, "O Abu Abdurrahman, how much are you going to write?" He said, perhaps the word in which me being saved has not occurred for me yet. Meaning I have not wrote that word that will be my savior on that day of judgment yet. So he's going to keep writing until he's saved by way of his knowledge on that day of judgment. Also comes Abdullah ibn Ahmad ibn Hanbal. He said, the pen remained in my father's hand until he died. The pen remained in my father's hand until he died. Now Imam Ahmad, he had two sons that narrate from him, and they were stepbrothers. They weren't both from the same mother. One is Abdullah, and one is Salih. So Abdullah narrated this from him. Abdullah narrated this, the pen remained in my father's hand until he died. But Salih, he narrated from his father that he said that a man came one day and he seen the ink pot in the hand of Imam Ahmad. And he said, Ya Abu Abdullah, O Abu Abdullah, ila mata tatlabu al-ilm? Until when are you going to seek this knowledge? Anta qad balagta hadha al-mablagh. You've reached this status. Wa anta imam al-muslimin. You're the imam of the Muslimin. فقال مع المحبرة إلى المقبرة. مع المحبرة إلى المقبرة. That I'm going to seek this knowledge with this ink pot until my grave. I'm going to seek knowledge with this ink pot until my grave. Meaning, I'm going to seek this knowledge until I die. I'm going to seek this knowledge until I die. And it caused another narration that he said, I'm going to seek this knowledge until I enter my grave. Showing this eagerness of this Imam, although he reached such a great status and he's still known till today as Imam of Ahlul Sunnah, it didn't stop him from seeking knowledge until he died. As for the well-known narration, min al-mihbarati ila al-maqbara, that from the cradle until the grave, then Allah knows best if this is actually ascribed to Imam Ahmad or if it's found. I haven't come across it where it actually comes with this wording. The wording that it came across is مع المحبرة إلى المقبرة, with the ink pot until the grave. Imam Muqbil also said this. He said, Insha'Allah, we will seek knowledge until we die. And this shows the sincerity of these Imams. That these Imams, they were not seeking knowledge for the praise of the people. They didn't care you praise them or don't praise them. وَمَا تَفْعَلُوا مِنْ خَيْرٍ يَعْلَمْهُ اللَّهِ. The good you put forth, Allah knows it. So they were doing it for the sake of Allah. They're going to seek it until they die because they wanted the reward from Allah. A person who seeks knowledge for this dunya, he'll never become successful. If you're seeking this knowledge to become praised by the people, and for the people to look at you in a high status and high eye, then know that if that's your intention, then your intention is lowly and you won't attain nothing. Now a person who is able to do more and study more shouldn't suffice himself with little. You should never be happy with doing, which is lesser. Ibn al-Jawzi, he mentions from the signs of the complete intellect is having high aspirations, and being pleased with lesser is lowly. The having high aspirations shows your intellect's become complete, but you being pleased with something less is actually lowly. Abdullah ibn Ubayd al-Makki, he said, knowledge is the missing property of a believer. Whenever he finds it, he gathers it and desires more missing property. This all shows that a person, he strives and he's eager in seeking knowledge. These Imams, they put forth this effort. Until today, we benefit from their works. And their mention is still mentioned till today. But they put effort and they strive. A person who doesn't strive won't benefit. A person also should not overdo it in his studies. Rather, he should try to attain to his capability. You should not try to overdo it or look at the way others are doing it and try to compete with them. Rather, you do it to your level and your capability. The Prophet said, عَلَيْكُمْ بِمَا تُطِيقُونَ. Upon you is to do that which you're capable of. Then he said, فَوَاللَّهِ لَا يَمَلُّ اللَّهَ حَتَّى تَمَلُّوا. He said, by Allah, Allah does not get tired of giving rewards, but surely you will get tired of continuing. Now a student, he takes knowledge step by step. Al-Khatib al-Baghdadi, from the great Imams, he said a student should take that which is able, a student should not take that which is not able to do. Rather, he should suffice with the little in which he can be precise and perfect its memorization and preserving it. So if you're able to memorize 1 hadith or 2 hadith, and be precise in it, and be strong in it, it's better than you doing 10 hadith, and you're not strong in it. Imam al-Zuhri, he said, whoever seeks knowledge all at once, it will leave him all at once. Rather, knowledge is sought by 1 and 2 hadith at a time. Showing us these imams, they took it slowly, step by step. There's no rush, there's no race. You're trying to seek this knowledge until you reach your grave. For the sake of Allah, there's no race. You're not racing with anyone. You're not trying to please anyone. You're not trying to make it known. No one here is trying to go on TV and say, I memorized this many hadith, and I did this, and I did that, and become... No, we're not doing it for no YouTube or nothing like that. You're doing it for the sake of Allah. 1 hadith, 2 hadith, 1 hadith a day. How much is that in a year? 354 hadith. Multiply that by 2, or multiply that by 10 years. Let's say you're consistent 10 years, you just memorize 3,540 hadith. But you're lazy, not 1 hadith a day, 10 years goes by, you're still the same person, memorize 0 hadith. A situation many of us, right? 10 years goes by, we still memorize 0 hadith. But 1 hadith a day, people that look down upon you, what is 1 hadith a day? 1 hadith a day, 20 years down the line, you memorize 7,000 hadith. 7,000 hadith. Maybe 95% of the dunya, or 99% of the dunya has memorized 7,000 hadith. But you in your 20 years of striving and being eager upon this knowledge and slowly doing it, you memorize more than all of them memorize. Imam Muqbil said, commenting on this narration, Imam al-Zuhri, that he told the truth, for the one who wants to attain knowledge in 10 days, or a month, or a year, then he becomes fatigued in reality, and in reality he did not attain anything. So if you're trying to rush the process, in reality you're going to end up not attaining anything. So everyone knows himself, so he should try to do what he's capable upon doing so. It comes in Sahihain that Abdullah ibn Mas'ud used to give religious talks to the people on every Thursday. So a man said, Ya Abu Abdurrahman, by Allah, I wish you could preach to us daily. So what did he reply to him? He said, the only thing which prevents me from doing so is that I hate to bore you. And no doubt I take care of you in preaching by selecting a suitable used as something suitable. And that's how the Prophet used to teach them, once a day, or once, not all the time. Why? Because he didn't want to bore them. Showing us a person takes it a step-by-step process. And Shaykh al-Uthaymin mentions, from the people are those whom the spring of his heart and the comfort of his soul is that he reads and reviews and he researches and studies. And from the people are those who study knowledge only at times of being free. This second one, you find he's lazy. Whereas even if he sits to read or study, he gets tired very quick. The one who only does it at free time, if you're to give him a book and say read, he gets very fatigued quick. He gets lazy very quick. But the one who's doing it for the sake of Allah, and he's found comfort by reading this Qur'aan or the hadith or reading books, you find he doesn't get tired from it. For that reason, Imam Muqbil used to say, rahimahullah, when I open Bukhari or Muslim, all of the humum, the anxiety of the dunya leaves my head. This is when a person has actually found comfort with reading the books of knowledge, that when he opens them up, everything of stress and anxiety he had leaves his mind. And now he has comfort with the book he's reading, and he's doing it for the sake of Allah. Also, he mentions a student, if he goes to the teacher, should wait if he is not present. Now he should wait if there's a possibility of the teacher coming out. If there's no possibility of the teacher coming out, then he doesn't sit there at the door and wait, because there's no benefit of that. If you go to the teacher's class and there's a possibility of him coming, then sit there and wait. This is some good manners. But if you know 100% he's not coming, then what's the benefit of you sitting there? Unless you're reviewing or you're doing that other stuff, then no problem. But what he's talking about when you go to the door, because he used to go to the doors of the teachers. Shaykh al-Uthaymin mentioned it's befitting for the teacher, though, to give a student a specific time. And he should say, if I'm delayed by a certain amount, then that I'm not coming. This is from good ways to deal with your students, so that they aren't held back waiting for him, so they can go about their day and the rest of their actions. Then Imam Nawawi mentions that a person should try to benefit at times of being free and energetic and being strong in his mind and body, being less occupied before the hurdles of not doing action, not being able to do actions, and a person's status being raised occurs to him. Free time, in reality, all of us have free time. There's no one here that could say he doesn't have free time. But some of we spend our free time in that which is no benefit, and some of us, we spend our free time in that which is beneficial. For that reason, the Prophet said, نِعْمَتَانْ مَغْبُونٌ فِيهِمَا كَثِيرٌ مِنَ النَّاسِ الصِّحَّةُ وَالْفَرَاغُ. Two bounties that many people, they go to loss in are as-sihha, good health, and al-faragh, and having free time. So look at yourself and how you deal with your free time. Are you benefiting and studying? Or you're a person who's on social media and wasting your life, or talking to your friends and wasting time with them, and whatever it may be. Ibn Abbas Ajallani said, being free is not continuous. For today is being free and tomorrow is being occupied. The free time, if it is not occupied with good, then it is occupied with falsehood. And this is a reality. If you don't occupy yourself with free time, if you don't occupy your free time with khair and good, then the shaitan makes you occupy that free time with falsehood and evil. Think about it. Spend time with yourself. Look at your free time. If you're not doing it in khair, what are you doing it in? You're wasting time, maybe ghiba, maybe namima, maybe social media, maybe other things that have no benefit. As for being less occupied, then the Prophet said, Badir bil a'mal. Be prompt in doing good deeds before you're overtaken. Showing us a person strives to doing good deeds and doesn't wait. إذا أمسيت فلا تنتظر المساء وإذا أصبحت فلا تنتظر الصباح وإذا أصبحت فلا تنتظر المساء. As Nash Ibn Umar mentions, that if you come at the time of the morning, don't wait to the evening, and the time even don't wait to the morning. Rather strive wherever you're able to do so, and don't be lazy and put it off. Imam Mukwi used to say and advise the students to strive and seek knowledge before the hurdles come to him. And this is reality. Once the hurdles come to you, you become occupied and you start to not have time and a free mind and an open mind to study and benefit from that which you're reading. Umar radiallahu anhu said that study قبل أن تسودوا تفقهوا قبل أن تسودوا. Learn before you become leaders. Imam al-Shafi'i said, learn before you're put in charge. Once you're put in charge, you cannot learn no more. But other scholars, they mention that this is not mentioned unrestrictedly. This is restricted. What does that mean? Imam Bukhari mentions, learn even after you attain leadership, for the companions of the Prophet used to study with their old age. Meaning, if a person gets to a certain status, or certain hurdles come to him, you find that it starts to slow him down in his seeking of knowledge because he's become occupied now. But that shouldn't be a reason for a person to stop knowledge. You find some people nowadays, they get a job, the first thing that they leave off is seeking knowledge. This shows they had no barakah in that knowledge they were seeking. The first thing you leave off because you got a good job is knowledge. There's something wrong. There's something wrong. Not even strive. You don't even say, no, maybe I'll come once a week or twice a week or once every 2 weeks. Right away, you stop coming to the classes, you stop learning and seeking knowledge. That shows there was something wrong with your intention. A person, when he becomes occupied, the first thing he should be leaving off is not knowledge. He should maybe leave off his sins to continue on in his pursuit of knowledge, because that will help him. Imam Al-Uthaymin mentioned, regarding the narration of Umar radiallahu anhu, he said this is correct. A person, once he becomes known with his knowledge, and he becomes known amongst the people, he will not be free. For that reason, it is befitting for a person that he takes advantage of his free time. It is said, you are for yourself as long as you are known. But once you become known, you are for the people. Once you become known, you are from the people. And these are from the wise statements of the scholars. Perhaps, or we'll take the last part as well. Then he says, after narration, oh Allah, bless my nation in its earliness. This narration is authentic to the Prophet ﷺ. Oh Allah, bless my nation in its earliness. Fi bukuriha. They mention that the early time after Fajr is the best time for studying and benefiting, because that's when a person's mind is clear and is less occupied at that time, after Fajr. And the scholars advise that a person takes advantage of this. Rather, some of the Salaf, they used to say a person who sleeps after Fajr, he is a person who is idle and heedless. He's a person who is idle and heedless. The proof of that is narration of Abdullah Mas'ud radiallahu anh, that they said they came to him one day after we had observed the morning prayer, and we paid salutation at the door. He permitted us to enter, but we stayed for a while at the door. When the slave girl came out and said, why don't you come in? So he went in and we found Abdullah Mas'ud sitting and glorifying Allah. And he said, what obstructed you from coming in, though you had been granted permission for it? We said there was nothing behind it, but we entertained the idea that some of the people of the house may be sleeping. He said, do you presume any idleness and heedlessness on the parts of the family of Abdullah Mas'ud? Showing us that they found that this time of sleeping at after Fajr was a time of idleness and heedlessness for a person. That he doesn't sleep at this time, rather he benefits from that great time. Imam al-Mubarakfuri, he says this is evidence that sleeping after Fajr is idleness and heedlessness. Ibn Qayyim mentioned that from that which is disliked amongst them was sleeping after Fajr until the sun rose, for it is a time of great gain and benefit. Now the scholars, they mention, the proof of that also is the Prophet كَانَ يَكْرَهُ النَّوْمَ قَبْلَهَا وَالْحَدِيث بَعْدَهَا. That the Prophet disliked sleep before Isha and speaking after Isha. Where did they get the evidence from this from? They said that why the Prophet disliked sleeping after Isha, or speaking after Isha, to sleep early, so they can catch the Fajr prayer, or catch the night prayer and pray Fajr and have enough energy to continue until the sun rises. To continue until the sun rises. Some of the scholars have mentioned this. So they say there's 4 times where it's disliked to sleep. Number 1 is after Fajr. Number 2 is before Isha. It's disliked to sleep before Isha, because you might miss Isha. The 3rd time they say it's disliked to sleep is the last part of the night. The last part of the night when Allah comes down to the lowest heavens. And the 4th time they mention that it's disliked to sleep is after Asr. And they say after Asr, why? They mention narration that they say that the Prophet supposedly said, whoever sleeps after Asr and loses his mind, he should not blame anyone but himself. But this narration is not authentic to the Prophet ﷺ. Whoever sleeps after Asr and loses his mind, he should not blame anyone but himself. This narration is weak. For that reason, some of the scholars, they differed regarding, is it disliked to sleep after Asr or not? They went towards two stances. Number one, some of the scholars said it's disliked to sleep after Asr. And they said why? Based upon the previous weak narration. Also, they say based on our experience, when we sleep after Asr, they say that it harms their intellect and their mind. Also, they say some of the narration of the Salaf. They say because of this, they dislike to sleep after Asr. Other scholars like Imam Al-Albani, Imam Muqbil, and Lajna Da'im and other they say it is permissible to sleep after Asr. They say the origin is permissibility until it's proven that it's not permissible. Why? Because this is something you have to have evidence to say is disliked. Also, they say that the hadith is weak and there's no evidence for us to say that it is disliked. For that reason, Lajna Da'ima, they said, sleeping after Asr is something that some people have become accustomed to and there's no problem with it. The narration which mentioned it is prohibited to sleep after Asr are not authentic. So here we say that the 3 times to sleep disliked that the scholars have mentioned evidences for, or by way of istinbat, by depriving from the evidences, they say is after Fajr, before Isha, and the last part of the night it is disliked to sleep. Why? Because Allah is encouraging you to wake up at that time and pray. Man yad'uni fastajibu lah. Who is calling upon me, so I may answer. Man yas'aluni fa'utiyah. Who is asking, so that I may give him. وَمَنْ يَسْتَغْفِرُنِي فَأَغْفِرُ لَهُ. And who is the one who seeks my forgiveness, I may forgive him. Allah is encouraging you to be awake at this time, so they say it's disliked for you to sleep at this time. We'll stop with this much and let Brother Fish discuss. We've elongated a bit. Subhanaka wa bihamdik, la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.